Okay. Hey everybody, how we doing today? Doing great? That's fantastic. Me? I'm doing awesome. Thank you for asking. Great. All right. Well, as you can clearly see, we have a very, very, very special guest. The most special of all guests in the Teching 101 studio today. I therefore present to you the Lord of the World Government and the all of Blue Planet, Lord Emu-sama. Yeah, let's just round of applause. Let's just hear it for Lord Emu-sama. Came all this way just to hang out with me. Isn't that fantastic? That's incredible. My goodness, it's just great. It's great. Okay, shut up. All right, just shut up. I don't know what he's doing back there either. He just showed up today on my front doorstep, okay? He wants to watch me make a video. I don't know what's going on either, so just play along, okay? Barry's good. Barry's fine. Barry's gonna make it out of this perfectly fine. I'm the one in freaking situation right now, okay? So just let's go with this. No, it's fine. It's cool. It's all right. All right, so we're gonna be making a video today about Emu's powers. Right? Like, yeah, and I've made videos about this before. I've went through the litany of abilities that we see Emu utilize on Elbaf, you know, possessing Gunko and pulling out the magic book, which Emu, as you can clearly tell, brought with them today. You know, a little bit of show and tell. That's fantastic. You know, and able to use the Domi Reversi on Dorian Bragi, and then we see these abilities also demonstrated through the flashback at God Valley. Sucks about that, by the way. I am really sorry about that, okay? Yeah, that whole thing. Oh, yeah, that just went bonkers, right? Okay. So we've seen those abilities before, and I've talked about them. This is more about, like, the origin, because we're getting to a point in the story where Emu is taking a much, much more active role here, really getting involved, and I think we all have to ask a question. I mean, we know the answer, Lord Emu. We obviously know the answer. Is Emu just a straight-up god? You know, like, no devil fruit, no Haki, no nonsense, just an actual deity that has gotten involved in the material world of the Blue Planet, of the One Piece world, right? Perhaps this entity possessed the body of Emu Nerona, who was an actual person that lived during the time of the Void Century, at least according to Cobra. Great job, by the way, killing that guy. Oh my god, that was awesome what you did there, right? Yeah, how you know, already old and sickly old man was able to block your path so Sabo could escape, and just sucks about that. I mean, you had to devote all of your attention to Cobra, clearly. Okay, so if that isn't the case, though, right? If Emu wasn't a god, then the power would have to come from what? Like a devil fruit? That's really where the basis of this is. Because if Emu's power, and let me know down below if you think Emu's power just comes from a devil fruit, it would have to be the single most powerful broken ability. And we've seen lots of broken abilities, right? We've seen lots of devil fruit powers that are crazy. You know, like Law's Op fruit, Sugar's Hobby no Mi. You know, there's a lot of powers, even like Suru's Wash fruit. You know, a fruit that's based around laundry seems to have some really cracked abilities, right? But nothing would compare to the devil fruit that would exist that gives Emu all of these abilities, especially if they're all of the abilities that extend to the covenants, because a big part of this, and why I think it doesn't have anything to do with a devil fruit, is it isn't just Emu having a set of abilities that they themselves use. It's also giving abilities to others that they can use, and in turn, those individuals can then also give out more abilities to other people. It's like a pyramid scheme, essentially, is what we're dealing with here, right? So, I mean, I'm just saying this straight up. If it is a devil fruit power, right? And you could say whatever it is, like it's the contract no Mi, which Rustage was kind of already on that with, that was a devil fruit that appeared in One Piece Pirates, you know, D&D that we did way back in the day. You know, Roulette had that ability. And then also it could be like a mythical Zoan, you know, like, you know, mythical devil no Mi. A devil fruit that's the devil no Mi. It could be the original progenitor of devil fruits. If we're gonna go along with something like that, like Emu descended from the devil realm or wherever gods live, and then possessed Emu Nerona, and then created the devil fruit so they could have power, and maybe their initial devil fruit was the strongest and just the most busted, and they could do whatever they wanted with it. Maybe a byproduct with that is maybe other devil fruits were created because of that singular creation. You could look at it like that, but it would have to be broken, because let's go through all this stuff, all right? So Emu is capable of doing some stuff on their own. I made a whole video about that, like pulling the the book out, summoning the shotgun. That was a cool scene. Like, straight up. I am terrified for my life right now. But, you know, you pulling out the giant demonic double-barrel shotgun and blasting off Broggy's arm, that was sick. That was some cool stuff, all right? So you got that, also pulling out the dagger, using the Domi Reversi. During the fight with Sabo and Cobra, also Emu turned into like a massive, like, kaiju-size monster, you know, descending from the empty throne and all that stuff, right? So Emu's capable of that. Also possession. We see Emu just taking over Saturn, taking over Gunko, looking through their eyes, manipulating their body, speaking through them, okay? But then we also have the contract system, right? And we have the 3 levels so far. We got the Shallow Covenant, the Deep Sea Covenant, and the Deep Sea Covenant, or the Abyssal Covenant, right? 2 of these we know pretty well so far. At least we have enough stuff to go on. We know the Shallows Covenant doesn't really provide you with any abilities. It doesn't give you a buff in strength or regeneration or anything. We just know that if you have the Shallow Covenant, and if you're in the presence of Emu, so at the Holy Land, you will be unable to disobey, right? Then we have the Deep Sea Covenant, which what Harald received, and all the other God's Knights have, the proper God's Knights receive. Apparently, with the Deep Sea Covenant and the Deep Sea Covenant, there's only 13 individuals that bear that sigil, that power on them. That's the one that gives you, first and foremost, a boost in strength. So you're way stronger than you were before. It also gives you the ability to communicate with Emu via telepathy. It also gives you the power to summon the Abyss to create this circle that allows you to teleport, fast travel all over the world. Emu can kind of speak to you through the Abyss. It also gives you, it gives Emu the ability to like give you like the compulse you to do something. Like a lot of these abilities might seem the same, but they are different, and I will break down how like severe they are. So the first one is just compulsion. So Emu ordered Harald to get all of the giants mobilized to make an army. And Harald resisted, like he was saying he didn't want to do it, but his physical body, his muscles were moving on their own, you know, pushing him forward, okay? So he still had control of his mind at that point, and Emu wasn't possessing him, but his physical body was being compulsed to do something, to physically pick up a sword and slice apart his men, right? Then we have a degree of brainwashing, where the way that Harald described this in his brief moment of lucidity after Loki showed up and attacked him was that it's sort of like Emu's presence or thoughts invaded Harald's mind, and so Harald, like, he's still himself in the sense that he could still remember his name, and he knew who Loki was, and he knew all of that stuff, but it's like Emu's will takes forefront in his mind. You know, it's just like whatever Emu's will is, that is what Harald is now, like, obsessed with, okay, to fulfill. So you're still technically yourself, but you are brainwashed to an extent. And then finally, we have just the full possession, where Emu just takes you over, and now you have no sense of your own personality or memory or who you are. Emu is just using you as a puppet, essentially, at that point, which we've never seen Emu do that with Harald, so there might be a further extension with that. We saw Emu doing that with Gunko and with Saturn. And so then we get to the Gorosei that have a different suite of powers, as it were. They most likely have the Abyssal Covenant. Hey, by the way, actually, you know what? Once again, terrified. While I have you here, could you just lay out the whole thing with the Abyssal Covenants? Like, what does the seal look like? Do the Gorosei have that? What's up with the 13? This actually works. You know, we could do an interview here. So, Lord Emu-sama of the entire world, what do you do in your free time? What's up with the Vivi thing? What's up with the Lily thing? What's up with the Will of D? Can you just tell me? I've been talking about this series for a while. You could just tell me what the Will of D is all about. Okay. Yeah. No. I got it. Okay. So with the Gorosei, we know they cannot age, for one thing. We know Saturn looks the same now as he did 20 years ago, as he did 200 years ago. Just the fact that he's over 200 years old is in and of itself kind of exemplary of this immortality, but then also they cannot physically age anymore. They stay whatever age they were probably when they received the Abyssal Covenant. All right. And so on top of that, they have their yokai forms, which, you know, is also seemingly something similar to mythical Zoans, but they might have been given this power directly by Emu, okay? And this is really important. The scene where Harald receives the Shallow Covenant, Emu isn't anywhere to be seen. Emu isn't around. Harald does not learn of the existence of Emu until he's getting upgraded to the Deep Sea Covenant, the silver package, you know? So that's when he goes to the empty throne room. That's when he meets Imu for the first time and like, who's that? And then Imu activates the power and upgrades the seal, okay? So it seems like the Gorosei, not Imu, are able to give out the shallow covenants just on their own. See, this is what I mean by if this is a singular devil fruit, the mythical devil zoan or demon zoan or some kind of paramecia or whatever, some kind of contract paramecia, not only is Imu able to give the Gorosei a level of covenant, but then the Gorosei are able to then branch out and give powers to other people. You know, and it's like, it like branches out that way and extends to that sort of thing, right? Yeah, and then even more so with that, when Imu does the Domi Reversi with Dori and Bragi, whenever they are standing, like it's on a Reversi board, standing in between people, then they flip and become demons as well. So it's like a virus. It's like some kind of infection, right? It's like Imu has the ability to give you these powers, and then you go out and then you give other people powers, and I guess they can then extend that, and it's just... It really is insane, which also really, once again, begs the question why Imu just hasn't ruled over the entire world with this power. Like, there's got to be some limit with this, right? Right? Because otherwise, you know, the entire world should be Domi Reversi'd by now. The entire world should be directly under Imu's thumb, which, yes, it is in a way, but not like the way that you would envision with these god powers going on, okay? So, yeah, if it's the first devil fruit, it's the first devil fruit. But if not, this is something else. And I kind of want it to be something else. Now, that opens up a whole other box of worms. If it is just a god, like a straight up god, what about any other gods? We know the sun god Nika exists. Luffy has the devil fruit, right? So if there's an actual deity that's going to get involved. Then during Skypiea, when, you know, we see Shandora, we have the god of the rain and of the forest and all that stuff, the earth and all that kind of stuff, right? The forest gods and stuff. So my question is, are there other deities other than Imu and Nika? And if there are, then do they have the ability to give out contracts as well? Like, even Luffy, assuming Luffy right now in his sun god form, could he do these kind of abilities, right? Could he give out covenants and stuff to people, but through, like, different mechanism and, like, different ways? So instead of, like, restricting their personalities like Imu does, like, would you know, Luffy's power be able to make them more free as they level up, you know, through the bronze, silver, gold package or something like that? Will the forest god or the rain god or the mountain god or something get involved? Well, the mountain god, Odin killed the mountain god during Wano. Actually, no. Odin didn't kill the mountain god. They pasted it back together because Odin sliced it clean through the entire body, but they were able to stitch it back up. So you actually do see the mountain god survive. So who knows? Maybe the mountain god might show back up. That was actually the mountain god, and it's capable of using contract seals as well. Crazy. Yeah, it's nuts, right? So yeah, just because of these abilities, you know, it just seems nuts that like one fruit could give you all this, right? Now, granted, talking about other broken devil fruits, we had like Sugar's Hobby Nomi, which gives you the ability to not age, and then it also gives you the ability to turn people into toys against their will. And actually, when it comes to the Hobby Nomi, you do set a contract. Like Sugar did say, like, you know, there's a contract that needs to be, you know, made. But the contract in that case, you know, has nothing to do with, like, you know, Sugar. It's like a downside for her. It's all the negatives are on the person that gets turned into a toy, right? And part of that contract is, like, you know, you are not allowed to tell other people about who you are. And also, on top of that, it has, like, a memory erasure ability, where people that get turned into toys, they keep their memories, but everybody else all over the world, this is a global effect, forget about them, right? So that, I up until now, I thought that was one of the most busted devil fruits ever, but if this is a power like that, then it's even more insane, which does get me thinking, could it be possible, if we're going that direction with it, the original devil fruit, the progenitor of the devil fruits, has the ability of, like, every devil fruit? Because when you actually stop to think about it, all of these abilities we've seen Imu do up until now, like increasing strength, telepathy, teleportation, summoning weapons, you know, turning people into, you know, monsters and things like that. Some of those powers we've already seen from other devil fruits. You know, we've already seen this, like limiting off your memories and stuff. We've seen this with other powers. So I don't know if this is a thing like that where emu might not, it might not even be like an actual devil fruit the way we're thinking it. It might just be, oh, what about this? This is cool. This is an idea. This is a theory. All right. So what if emu just is a straight up deity? And usually, the gods and the material plane don't mix. The gods do not extend down to the world, right? But in the case with emu, they did choose to get involved with the world of man and all that kind of, like the material realm and all that bullshit, right? So they descend, but their very presence there is going to change things, which may in fact account for the creation of devil fruits. Emu decided to get involved perhaps after the Second Age, or, when the Second Age started, maybe something like that. Certainly around the Third Age, because the Third Age to the Second Age, that transitionary period is when the Void Century apparently happened, from what we understand with the Harley so far, right? So maybe Emu got involved between the Second and Third, or during the Second, or at the beginning of the Second. At whatever point Emu descends and gets involved, then at that point, their presence creates devil fruits. So emu is just, that's like a byproduct of that. But emu themselves, being the actual devil, can kind of do whatever the devil fruits can, including giving other people the ability of devil fruits, like going to the Gorosei and saying, I'm giving you this abyssal covenant. I'm also going to bestow upon you a yokai form of your choosing. Because I am the progenitor of all devil fruits, I can just do that, right? So maybe there's something like that. We could go with that. I'm okay with that idea. That makes sense to me. And also, along with that, we could also have some restrictions tied to that as well, like a god being in the material realm. Emu clearly hasn't, dominated the entire world, turning everybody into demons. So maybe just them being there, or maybe them possessing the body of someone like Emu Neurona. This is a body that has been around for 800 years. What's insane? We always see Emu shrouded in this, black cloak, this goo almost, of the evil, right? And we know that that's really what Emu looks like. At least other people are seeing that. It's not just like silhouette for the sake of silhouette to keep it a secret from us, the readers. When Garp and Roger were directly squaring off against Emu at God Valley, they're directly saying, what is this, pitch black evil thing that's, attacking us, right? They recognized it as what Emu actually looked like, right? So what if Emu, possesses, or whatever this devil is, there might be a true name thing going on here, where Emu just took that name because of Emu Neurona. That was the original person that gets possessed. But, the name of the god is, something else, something you don't want to say. Something that's, cannot be spoken by human tongues or something. I am the Lord. Something like that. Did you ever see Seven Deadly Sins? The moment where, Merlin is oh, yeah, no, that's not my real name. My real name is... It's something like that, right? So, whatever. What if, after the shadow gets removed, all that's underneath that is just a skeleton? Literally the skeletal remains of Emu Neurona that have long since decayed and rotted away in the 8 centuries since they were alive. And just Emu is maybe stuck in that vessel in some way. There's definitely a level of restriction here where Emu seems to not physically be able to leave not just Marijois, but also just certain rooms in Castle Pangea. We only see Emu in the flower room, in the empty throne room, and that's basically it. We don't even see Emu ever going to, the Room of Authority, where the Gorosei usually hang out, or any other part of Pangea Castle. And Pangea Castle has a nice cafe. They got a Starbucks. Best Starbucks in the whole world is in Castle Pangea. We never see Emu rocking up to the Starbucks to get some coffee. Right? Okay, so Emu might just be limited to those 2 rooms, and that might be it, right? Okay? And so if that's the case, there's a restriction here where Emu is stuck in Emu Neurona's body, cannot leave beyond the bounds of Castle Pangea, can still possess people and interact with the world that way, but that might just be the byproduct of, deities, gods, devils, whatever, are not allowed in the material realm. Their presence in the material realm, that's going to create devil fruits, that's going to create a bunch of wacky stuff, and also it might be sort of detrimental to them. They don't have as much freedom because they're outside of their dimension where they originated from, or something like that, right? Yeah. I'm kind of looking at emus sort of like an eldritch, Lovecraftian deity, Cthulhu something here going on, which could totally be the case. Could totally be the case. So yeah, we could go with that. Yeah, let's rock and roll. So yeah, that's just a bunch of random ideas on emu's powers, or where they could come from, or where devil fruits might originate from. Let me know down below. And then there's Haki, right? Haki seems to be something that emu exhibits as well. I mean, like Roger and Garp, definitely mentioned that this is Haki, but it's weird, right? Like this feels very ominous. This feels like tainted, evil Haki that I've never felt before, right? So emu is capable of Haki, but then is also wounded by it. And Joy Boy's Haki specifically made emu have like a panic attack. Sorry about that, by the way. Really, it seemed upsetting for you, okay? So, if ambition and willpower is the way to fight through emu's power and manipulation, that could be another thing, right? Maybe emu descended into the material world thinking they were gonna conquer it, and then, wait a minute, these humans actually have like abilities to protect themselves. They have Haki, and maybe emu didn't predict that. It was like, oh, maybe they thought like, oh, the humans, and not just the humans, but all the other races that exist in the One Piece world, like fishmen, merfolk, the Tontatas. Maybe emu thought they were all lesser than them. Like there was no way that they could possibly fight back, but then through Haki, they could. Devil fruits, maybe not so much. Emu doesn't seem to have that much of a big issue with devil fruits, or seem to hate them all that much. But Haki gets a response, all right? That's like maybe the one way that the mortals are able to fight back against the deities. That's something, yeah. Okay, well, that was just a bunch of ideas. Hope you enjoyed. I don't know what's gonna happen next. I don't know. Signing out. I hope I see you tomorrow. I don't know, man. All right, well, I'm gonna order dinner, I guess. Like, do you eat? Do you want something? Like, I don't know. I'm thinking about ordering, like, there's a nice Japanese restaurant. Do you want sushi? I have a guest bedroom upstairs, I guess. I mean,